Welcome to the What Now podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Powers. Follow along as I figure out how to go from feeling lost and at a crossroads in my life to hopefully, eventually, being found. If you have ever felt like you needed a change or pivoting from your current experience is necessary, but you just don't know how, join me. Wanderers are always welcome. All right. Welcome back to part 2 of the manifesting and motherhood episode with my mom. We are about to talk about the vision boards that we made for 2025. For those of you that maybe did not get to listen to part 1, go back and do that. It'll inform a lot of what we're about to talk about. But for those of you who may not know, in 2023, I interviewed my friend Max, and he and I created vision boards because I had just started learning about manifesting and manifestations and behavioral activations and affirmations and what you need to do in order to bring about change in your life beyond just making physical habit related changes. One of those things, even though it sounded a little woo woo at the time, was to create a vision board. How do you envision future you? What does your future life look like? And how do you build backwards from that in order to create it and make it happen? And one of the key things I've learned through neurological research about manifesting is that your brain is constantly listening to and receiving feedback from your environment based on how you interact with it. So saying something out loud, writing that goal down, reading that goal silently, and then saying it to yourself again helps. Again, I'm breaking this down, paraphrasing the science, but making it rudimentary. But doing that on top, each of those 5 senses, engaging the 5-ish senses of that goal, helps rewire your brain to remember and store that vision as something that's important because you repeated it. So your brain's going to start trying to make decisions based on that now coded, quote unquote, important information. So that way decisions and choices and things that you come across in your future help you lead you to that idealized life. So that's why I believe vision boards are important. And it's just a fun, creative way for my mom and I to bond together. And so I invited her to come down to do the boards and come on the show. So we're going to go through my mom's board first, and she'll kind of explain everything that's on it and what it means to her, why she picked what she picked to put on it, and what does she want that vision to actually become in real life. And then I'll do the same for mine. So take it away, Madre.
Okay. So in the prior episode, we were talking about the small changes that we were making in our lives that were making a big difference. And in the top left corner of my vision board is I downloaded an app called Bend, and I created a routine, and I started doing basic 25-minute yoga routine every day. As I age, I'm 65 now, and as I aged, flexibility was becoming an issue for me. Squatting to pick something up, and I noticed that your dad would grunt every time he had to bend over. It was starting to worry me. And so I started this yoga routine, and he has joined me. And so we really get upset with ourselves when we miss a day. And of course, now that I'm up here, since I've been up here for 3 days, I've missed a couple of days, and so has he. But I love it. It doesn't feel like I've had a good day unless I've actually done that. I know he feels the same. So my top left corner, it just shows some people doing yoga, meditation, practicing mindfulness. There's my routine. Also, your dad and I are blessed that we live on an actual green belt. So you can walk out our door and you're on a 10-mile green belt that runs through my city by a creek. And I have a photo of your dad walking the dog and our new cat, Sylvester. So I have a photo of Dad.
Oh, yeah. Dad's in the corner.
And the quote says, take a walk and reconnect with nature. And so it really is very soothing. I love that I live on the green belt, and I love that we can just take the dog out for a walk. And we need to do more of that. I have a 3-mile uphill kind of hike that I like to do. Those are part of the wellness habits that are serving me well right now. And I really intend to keep those and become one of the things I've never been is somebody who has a good routine or who sticks with a routine. That's the story of my life, is that I've not ever had regular sleeping hours or work hours.
Well,
So-
and becoming a mom, like you said, made you change your priorities. You couldn't focus on just you, or
correct. But
or
I know lots of moms who get up
it
early.
became more difficult. Well, yeah. It
Let's
became
get
more
more.
difficult. You had to make a choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there are a lot of people who have that are very disciplined and can do those kinds of things and do those things, and I admire them greatly. Not me. Another big part of our life is travel. Your dad and I have been blessed to have some great adventures
Yeah.
in the last few years. Last year, we went to Copenhagen, we went to Lisbon, we went to Portugal, and we also went to the Netherlands. We have friends there, and I know, or we won't be going back anytime soon. I put in pictures of, only because I want to remember. I really want to remember how peaceful and how much fun we had together and how much we really enjoyed that. And we've already planned a trip for this year in which we're going to be Paris, Switzerland, and Florence, Italy, and also the French countryside. So photos from all of that. There's a photo. We're blessed to have friends who have a wonderful condo in Florida, and this is a picture from their window.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's Dana and Richard's window of the ocean, and yeah,
you and Daddy.
Yeah, and so there's a photo of Dad and I. He rented a convertible last time we were in Florida.
Yeah, of course he did. Yeah.
There's a photo of us in the convertible and a little photo of saying Wonderlust, because that's us. So we're constantly planning little trips. We've got 3 coming up in the next few weeks here, just local kind of stuff. But I'm looking forward to it. So travel's a big part of it. I had told you that there were these 7 habits in terms of little habits that we're changing. So that's a list of them.
Well, read those for the listeners.
Okay. So 7 habits every couple needs for a strong 2025. Start each day with a 5-minute morning cuddle or chat. So over our coffee, instead of looking at our phones, putting the phones down, and then kind of planning out our day and just being really sweet. Setting boundaries for work time and couple time, that's always been difficult for us. I feel like even though I wasn't a doctor, I've always been on call. I've worked on multi-million-dollar coding projects, and something fails or there's a glitch, and so I've also been someone who likes to work when it's super quiet. So I worked late at night, and we've worked from home. We currently own a bunch of rentals, and of course it's freezing cold and lots of heaters go out in the middle of the night. It's just been separating work and home life is challenging for us, but it's something we want to work on. Commit to 1 date night every week, and our problem is we feel like every night's a date night.
Narrow down your date night.
Yeah, so we're going to try to make a special date night, celebrating small wins together. We haven't figured out what a favorite treat or activity would be, but we're working on that one. Prioritizing fitness and exercise. So we get up, and after we have our chat, we have a morning shake, and then we do our yoga. So that one's coming together. Using Sunday nights to plan your week as a team. Again, as long as our weeks are steady, we are trying to do that. And we're doing a new Sunday night ritual, which is to write down and put in a memory jar our favorite thing from that week. We don't tell each other what it is. We just write it down and throw it in the jar. So I'm looking forward to the end of the year, being able to go through the jar and see how many wonderful things we were able to do. And then at the end of each night, by sharing one thing you love about your partner. We have not been doing that one. And it's like,
okay.
So I need that one I need to work on.
You're going to have to sit down and listen to it, because it's going to be a bunch of compliments about your butt,
He's poor thing. All right. Then I love this quote: the wonderful things in life are the things you do, not the things you have. I feel like I'm blessed. I have the things that are important. I have a great relationship. I have wonderful kids. I have my health. I have a comfortable home. So I have all of those things, but now I'm trying to work on doing the things that make life great. And I'm looking at this vision board, and there's a couple of things I want to point out.
Yes.
So the first one is right in the center of the board is a quote that I read several years ago, and I'm going to read it. Today I learned about a term called a glimmer, which is the opposite of a trigger. Glimmers are those moments in your day that make you feel joy, happiness, peace, or gratitude. Once you train your brain to be on the lookout for glimmers, those tiny moments will appear more and more. And since I've read that quote, I have been having little glimmers. And I live in a hometown that's kind of economically depressed, but it's beautiful. It's in the Appalachian Mountains. And every now and then I'm topping a hill and I'll come across a gorgeous sunset or snow caps on the mountains. And I am actively looking for glimmers. And it doesn't just have to be in nature, it can be in just your dad telling a stupid dad joke.
Yeah.
So the glimmers are everywhere, and it's amazing how much it changes one's happiness and thought process to have those. So glimmers, inspiration, certainly have had a really blessed year in terms of, Jackson getting married. And so this section here is about family, and I'll move over this. So big wedding. There's my whole lovely family. We have a baby coming. And so there's a picture of a baby. This particular baby's dressed as a Viking because your brother
He's obsessed with Vikings.
And he looks,
and
kind
Viking culture.
and he looks kind of Viking like. So with a big blonde hair and beard and long blonde hair and a beard. At any rate, I'm looking forward to that. But at 65, I've got to figure out that I really only have maybe a good 10 years of great healthy physical, like I'm super physical right now.
Sure.
In terms of the things I'm able to accomplish and do, whether it's cleaning or planting or digging or carrying or whatever, that I want to be really mindful about my next decade. And so that's what a lot of this is. In my mind, I'm sure it's very popular right now, but I grew up in the country, living on a farm, being, my parents didn't directly have a garden in our yard, but my grandparents did, my neighbors did, canning, sitting around while my mother was shucking corn and canning corn and green beans and eating food that had been raised by your neighbors or your grandparents. That was the way I grew up. And I very much believe that it's going to be more and more important that we have access to healthy food. So you'll see a ton of my photos have to do with gardens and gardening. Right now, as you know, 4 years ago, your dad and I sold our house in Nashville, and in 2021, and sold our house in Nashville, moved to Kingsport, Tennessee, our hometown. We thought it was going to be literally a few months stopover. We were going to sit there and think about where we were going to buy and what we were going to do. And we actually had in 2021 another 8-week out west national parks tour designed. But it didn't turn out that way. My mother became ill and the tour got canceled, and we've never moved. We're still where we started out 4 years ago. And that's been pretty hard on your dad and I. Like, we feel like we've been running in place. And we had thought one of my long-term goals is to buy a house. Doesn't have to be a fancy house, doesn't have to be a big house, but a house with a view, right? And so and I thought it was interesting because one of my favorite movies is called A Room with a View. And it is set, part of the movie is set in Florence, Italy, which is where your dad and I are going this year. And so I was like, okay, there's all the synergy I need. I'm going to Florence, in Italy. I need a room with a view. And so those are the photos of not a specific house, but of getting to a place where I'm grounded, where I feel most at home, is somewhere in the mountains and looking out at that view. And that's my goal. I need to, where I live right now is wonderful and comfortable, and it's close to the grandparents, and I'm blessed to be. I even put up here, one of my things is Caregiver's Guide, Nurturing Our Aging Loved Ones. That's the role I'm playing right now. I shouldn't say I'm playing. That's the role I'm in right now, is a lot of caregiving, and I need to be intentional, mindful of that, loving about that, generous about that. But I also need to, at my age, I need to pursue my own goals and my own ambitions. And one of those is getting to a place where in 10 years from now, I want to own farmland. I want to have big gardens. I want to have something that is really lovely that I can pass on to my children and grandchildren. So that's what that part of the vision board is. And then the bottom part. So the idea is exercise, be mindful, find those glimmers, be happy, focus on your family and your loved ones, eat healthy, support their goals like Jackson's chefing and your podcasting.
Yeah, my podcast is really small. It's a teeny tiny icon, and Jackson's the giant chef in the top.
His dad had
I know the
his,
AI.
his Christmas card, right? So I didn't even know I had that in my stack of papers.
No, that's helpful though.
Okay. But so proportion is not indicative.
I know, not indicative of belief in the child.
That's right. So yeah, Haley and the grandkids are even smaller.
They're over here.
Haley and the twins. So at any rate, you're all here. The important
everybody's there.
Yeah. And the twins going off to college. It's going to be 2025. We'll get a new baby in the family. It's going to be a big year.
Oh, so, yeah.
Anyway,
they're going to college. They'll be freshmen. Yes. New baby. Yeah.
So my goal is to get out of my own head, find the glimmers, focus on family, and work toward the vision that I have. I can see where it's going to be in 25 years. I've got to make space for that. Your dad and I think because we've had so many options, we've not made a choice. We've had options like, do we build a tiny house on the family farm? Do we move internationally? Do we just travel and use this as a home base? Do we really want to buy a cabin in the mountains? So we've had so many options open that we haven't done anything. But I think this is the year. This is the time. We're both really ready to move on.
Sure. What does that one say in the other corner? That looks like a house.
Yeah. It says, if anyone is Christmas shopping for me, I'm a size 40-acre farm, in case you were wondering.
Okay. Nice. All right. Maybe in another couple of years, you got to give me some time to get off the ground or find a way to level myself up here.
Well, sometimes it takes a while. Just keep believing, keep plugging away.
Yeah.
So that's it.
I think those are great.
Yeah. I've got to work on a home where both your dad and I are happy.
And he's compromised with mountain, because I know he loves beach, but
he does. But I think we've both been doing enough research, and many of the places that we love are eroding very quickly, and beach houses are quite expensive. And I don't think he wants to live near the beach. He wants to live on the beach, and I don't see us being able to do that. So unless it's outside of the U.S.
Right. Yeah. So if you did like south of France or Italy somewhere.
Yeah.
Whichever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it. Obviously, I love the mountains. So mountain views, mountain views, mountain views. Yeah, and I keep coming back to this place, the mountains, trees that grow taller than homes, abundance, water. This is where I want to be. So I've always known where I find my, the pull, gravity for my soul. It's just my happy place. So,
okay.
Somewhere, somehow, I'm going to make that happen.
Well, I think that's great goals, Mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, mine's pretty selfish. Ain't got none of the family on here at all.
So don't fuss about how small my family is.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't.
Notice the baby photo was the largest.
Well, yeah, because the new baby's the most exciting thing. So for mine, it's very, very rainbowed together, just like the one, the 2023 one. But I did something similar to Mom. One corner's ideal food and body, listening to your gut flora, supplements, brands that I want to either take now or would like to be able to afford to take on a regular basis someday. The fitness section is much smaller, but it's got the same people that I admire in it. And the travel section is still massive. I added a little bit more self-care related ones and leveled up fashion in here. I'm starting to realize that like having an abundance of stuff doesn't necessarily mean that your life is any better, but that if you want to invest in, if I'm investing in what future Amanda looks like, the podcasts that I've listened to that talk about behavioral activations to create that future you means you have to start already acting like that person until they become real. You need to implement their changes in your life. If I wanted to become a person that wears certain clothes or looks a certain way, I need to start dressing that way. If I want to become a person that wakes up at 5 a.m. and does their workouts before going to work, I need to actually start practicing those habits to make her come true. And then one day, allegedly, if this is how it works, one day you wake up and you are actually living that life and you are that person, you are part of that lifestyle, and it's just become natural to you. So one of the ways to do that is to just go ahead and start acting that way. So I started putting a couple of more things in here, just like a more succinct outfit. I like black, white, and gold a lot. So there's a section at the bottom here that is fashion related. So there's Dior, Celine, Chanel, a couple of Instagram influencers that I admire, just their fashion sense, and a quote here that just says pretty and paid. And so it's just them in their vibe. And then there's a section that talks about the future house that I would like to have. So there's more mid-century modern stuff. There's higher ceilings. It feels more spacious and less clustered. There's 3 images of different styles of podcasting rooms, but I want an actual studio space instead of me makeshifting something in my living room or makeshifting something in a bonus room, which is essentially what I have right now. So it would be nice to have an actual dedicated space where I can get this type of work done. So that's kind of what that aspect is, why I added that in here. I did not have that last time. I'm not really like a labelsy fashion person, but future Amanda looks classy. Future Amanda looks like she put purpose into her day and her image. And in order to do that, you have to actually take the steps to take care of yourself, or you get rid of the clutter to make space for the things that you actually want in your life. So I'm trying to think through how to do that. And like, I'm going through the house and my closets and clearing out things that don't match that person. So that's why that's there. And then the bottom corner, bottom left, all the way up to the top left is all photos. I'd say at least a third of this poster is nothing but travel. So after I got back from South America and Antarctica, a trip I did with some of my girlfriends, which is a couple episodes back. If you would like to go and listen to that, I go over the entire trip and the itinerary and how that trip affected me. But it has reinforced to me that the priorities I have right now in my life are that I need to, when I'm able, do more enriching experiences, which to me mostly means I'd like to travel more. I'd like to see other parts of the world. I would like to have these other experiences, not because I'm looking for content necessarily for the podcast, but just you only get one life. And if I'm only going to do this once, I want to do it well. And I want to see other cultures. I want to see how other people live. I want to learn from them and learn about the world and learn about how other people experience life, because I do think that will inform my show and it will inform how I can help others. And if I only stay in my own headspace or my own experiences here in the United States, I can't bring that perspective. I can't bring that growth that I believe I can get if I were to put myself out there and try other things. So one of the things that I really, really, really want to do this year, I turned 34 and need some time to recuperate finances and time off and whatnot. But I really looking forward to next year. I feel like 35 is a little more of a significant birthday. Next year, I would really like to take a significant chunk out, maybe a month, and be in Italy and Greece, because I've never been to either one of those places before. So the vast majority of the photos in the center of the poster here are all Santorini, Greece, Italian gyms, different beaches in Italy, Positano, Palermo, the island of Corfu, and then just different various scenes. There's the Dolomites, in the mountains in Italy. There's a photo of Jordan. There's the National Park of the American Samoa, Red Rock Canyon, Bighorn, Fire Wave.
So lots of places you want to go.
Well, yeah. I mean, I tried to put as much out there. So like similar to what you've done, you and Dad did that giant trip of all the national parks. Last time we were at the national parks, maybe Jackson's gone because he's been skiing and stuff in Utah and visited friends, but I haven't. The last thing I did was the Grand Canyon with you guys. Like, I don't think
Was Denali when you were 15, Alaska.
Yeah. So it's I don't have an adult experience going hiking and spending time all the way out there. Shauna, one of my old roommates from when I was living in DC, she's been to almost all of them, and she did finally move to Colorado, so she's right outside of Denver now. So she has always known that she's always wanted to be out west, and that being outdoors is what makes her happy. And so I would love to actually be able to go out to some of these national parks. I've never done that, but like that would be cool. So that's in there. I put a photo of Heather McMahon, the comedian, in the middle of the word that says Italian gems because she's part Italian and jokes about that all the time. But she also vacations there a lot, had her wedding there, her honeymoon, etc. So she talks about Italy often. Her husband's Italian. And I'm also trying to manifest meeting her someday and interviewing her. She also has her own podcast, which kind of inspires mine. I have a photo of her Absolutely Not show on here. There's a couple of different shows that I've added here where I either pull inspiration from I listen to regularly. And so either ideally I put that on there because I guess I either want to mimic them or I would like to interview them someday, and putting them on there would be great. So that's what this is. There's also Embark on an Irish Road Trip. That's up there since Madeline's, or my younger cousin, is in Ireland studying, and I have never been to Ireland. I've only ever been to Scotland and England. So it'd be great to go back. And I haven't been there since 2012-ish or 2013-ish, something like that. So it'd be cool to actually be able to say I've been to Ireland as well. So that's on the to-do list. Top middle is kind of a mix between women I admire in the fitness industry and supplements and stuff. The last time I had the vision boards with Max, I did put a lot more people that I wanted to interview, and it was a lot more fitness oriented. But it's, of course, includes Krissy, Cela, and Danielle Wilson. I talk about them a lot on this show. I admire Krissy a lot for building her businesses from the ground up and using her career as a fitness influencer to save up a lot of her own money and start her companies and self-fund them and maintain her control over the creative direction of her businesses, and how she spends the time making sure that everything that she puts out there into the universe supports other women and helps them feel empowered to do whatever it is that they want to do. A lot of it obviously is geared towards fitness, empowering women in fitness to get more women to do weightlifting for our health, for our independence, for building your own confidence. Lots there, but I just admire her and respect her a lot. And she now lives in LA. So theoretically, I'm a little bit closer to meeting her compared to when she lived in England full time. So I'm just trying to put it out there into the universe. They also host a lot of workout events for the company, and that's on there because I would love to actually go to one someday. It would be an absolute dream to actually be a panel moderator, because they'll do like 2 or 3 day events for either Oner Active. Her clothing line is called Oner Active. They'll do a birthday event, or they will do specific weightlifting events if they're training a new type of powerlifting move, or if for Hispanic Heritage Month and Black History Month, they bring all of their sponsored athletes who are part of those minority groups, and those athletes get to bring their clients to a special closed event, and they have like panel discussions, and they get to raise awareness about those particular groups and making sure they get access to the same kind of healthcare and fitness information that everybody else does. And like, it's just a fun way to give back to those athletes to help them build their individual communities, but to have the sponsorship of Oner Active and push that mission still further and further out there. And I think that's a really great way to connect with that target audience. There's a photo of the photos of that. The photo of Danielle Wilson that's there is from that event from 2024. And it says, today's training intention, instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, focus on who you wish to become. And she's taking a photo of herself in the hotel mirror, but it says, you look strong today, with the Oner Active logo in it. And I love that. One, Danielle looks fire, and I admire her so much, but a lot of Danielle's content is posting the daily training intention. So before she goes to the gym and has you follow along with her workout on her social media, she posts what it is that she's going to think about throughout that day. I've really admired and taken tons and tons of screenshots of her daily intentions. And so this was just one of them that I thought fit well for the purpose of this vision board. And then, of course, there's a photo of Megan Thee Stallion, because I love Megan Thee Stallion. I've always loved Megan Thee Stallion. I will forever love Megan Thee Stallion. I talk about that in my birthday episode of why, but I have her on stage from her Hot Girl Summer Tour, which I went to in 2024. And she's pointing, obviously, out into the audience. But on the vision board, I have her pointing to a quote that says, "I define what's feminine. No one can define that for me." And I think that's important for anyone listening. You define who you are. Nobody else gets to do that for you. There are going to be people in this life that are going to try. There are going to be people that give you unsolicited advice, unsolicited opinions, comments, whatever about your performance, your body, your attitude, the way you talk, what it is you say, what you shouldn't do or should do, their opinion of your personal brand, what they think you should do instead, etc. And I feel like as women, we get told constantly, or we're ingrained to please others, not to rock the boat. If you want to survive, and I mean that in the literal sense, if you want to survive in this life, you have to be what other people believe to be feminine. So that way you're not a threat to others or people in the room. And I think that I am really, really tired of other people telling me what they think I should or should not do, or how I should or should not act, and what about me is feminine enough and what about me is not, or too masculine or not masculine enough, or whatever. I'm over that. I get to pick. And then there's at the very top are photos of the models from the Oner Active Legendary birthday party. So they were the models for the September clothing launch, and I have them up there because one, I thought it looked beautiful. They all look strong and healthy, and they're all different shapes and sizes and heights and ethnicities, and they just show you that there's beauty in every aspect of life and of type of woman, and that on the days where I don't feel like I look cute in these outfits, even though I've bought these outfits and I've spent this money on these outfits, I have to remember a lot of the times that nobody is thinking about my body the way that I'm constantly thinking about my body. And that I bet you even on that day when they took that photo, some of those girls probably had very similar thoughts to what I have about myself, and yet they look amazing. Yeah. And so I put it on there because I started the other night. I had a dream about this is going to sound so silly, but like I had a dream about an Oner Active campaign, and it was from the narrator's point of view, and this woman's walking around between her life and her day job, and like her nighttime escape is going to the gym. And so you don't realize who the model is but you can see her pulling on the clothes and walking out the door, packing her gym bag, packing her laptop purse or whatever every morning, and like she's switching between professional girly and then gym girly, and then like you finally see her in the mirror and it was me, and I was like, oh shit, like I have a campaign idea, like I have a perspective or I have an idea of a target audience that she has not, as far as I know, Krissy Cela has not planned this particular type of campaign. But I woke up and I had to write it down. I wrote it down, like what the storyboard would look like, the storyline, a couple of the narrations of what the person would be saying, and like I have this vision now. So the reason I put the models on there was twofold. One, to remind myself that my body is fine, and then two, I want to write a campaign with her someday, but I would love it if the campaign didn't always end with just the gym. I would love it to be a campaign about a woman that decides to change her life. And careers come and go, jobs come and go, relationships come and go, but the one thing that will not come and go is your ability to choose yourself, your ability to choose your health, your ability to make changes in your life to move yourself forward. And so it would be really cool to somehow do a collab with the podcast where you watch the girl in the commercial leave her corporate job, go to the gym to maintain her health, but she wakes up and she's in her new life. And so it's a podcaster that gets to wear Oner Active outfits on the podcast and whatnot. So that's kind of like a really far-fetched dream, but it's on there, and that's why I have to keep trying. I have to keep going.
I was just going to say, I love the concept.
So well, and they haven't done one. They haven't done one like that yet. They've pitched scenarios when you would wear the certain clothes. So like a wintertime launch of jackets and vests and fleeces and stuff. Or they've launched, like for their birthday, it was, something legendary is coming, and it was all about Miami Vice kind of vibes and then they had a old school bodybuilding style, like rough cut edges, cut off sleeves for the old school bodybuilders and competitors and stuff. And so like she's always had very well thought out campaigns and uses the various sized models for each of those launches. But I think in a world where women younger and younger than me too, as technology is changing, economic opportunities are either changing or dwindling in certain, I think more and more generations are going to start branching out on their own, or they're going to be finding ways to work for themselves versus for others. And if that's the case, finding a clothing brand that helps you express yourself in those changes, but also helps you maintain your health through the gym, a flexible brand makes sense. And so I think it would be a huge hit. So I don't know. But that's just kind of, it's my plan. And then Krissy Cela also has a quote where she's always telling her followers or her community, I can only tell you so much. I can tell you what I did, but the best way to change your life is to say, I'm doing this for me. And when she's encouraging people to come and use her workout app, which is her other business, one of her core mottos, her core values for both businesses is do this for you. It's nobody else's control over your health. It's nobody else's decision. It's your body. It's your one home that you have to take care of no matter what. So do this for you. If you have to get up at 5 a.m., do it then. If you have to go after work, do it then. Like, don't let anybody else make you compromise your health. Do this for you. Don't do it for other people's perceptions of beauty or strength. So that's why that's on there. There's a couple supplement businesses, ProMix and 22 Nutrition. 22 Nutrition, I do have a discount for, which you can find in the show notes of the podcast. But I added ProMix in there. Krissy became the creative director for this company here based in the US. And so she does a lot of their creative direction projects and marketing and helping them with new branding and keep them growing and expanding. And so I put that on there. I've tried some of their products as well, and I like them a lot. So I'd love to be able to afford more of them, but it is on the pricier side. And then I have a new one on here called Timeline. I've been getting a lot of ads about that, but basically been getting pushed information on social media about how important it is to target the mitochondria inside of your cells, because they are the powerhouse of your cells and they help create energy and function. And when the mitochondria fail, that's when you start getting autoimmune diseases and metabolism issues, disorders, you get sick, you develop cancer. And so one of the ways to maintain longevity in your life, not just in your muscles, but your brain health and overall function, is to maintain the mitochondria. And so this brand, Timeline, has a skincare function and a supplement function that you can take to help with aging and aging gracefully, I guess, but by using science. They are more high end. I do not currently take them, but they are on there because I want to remind myself that your health matters. I would like to manifest the ability to someday be able to afford them and buy them and take them on a regular basis, or hopefully maybe one day they'll be on HSA an eligible option. But that is why that's on there. I do believe that would be a really good supplement to take. It's got a higher concentration to help maintain your mitochondria and helps with muscle growth and maintenance, faster recovery from your workouts, and just overall longevity of health. Just like my mom said with her poster, being aware of what your body can do now versus what it may not be able to do later. Every decision you make about your physical health and your mental health now will compound the older you get. So I want to make sure I'm taking steps in those kinds of directions. And then at the very top is a quote from a young woman who I have not met in person, but I really admire her. I first found her TikTok content, but her name is Hannah Elson. She does UGC full-time, so user-generated content, and she posted something on her TikTok that said, "Unfortunately, I'm not the old me, so I won't hate myself into someone I love." And she was smiling and like staring up into the sun on, it looks like the edge of a cliff to jump off into the water or somewhere in Italy. And she posts a lot about being in your 20s and how to travel and do content creation full time, but how to take advantage of living your best life possible when you don't have a whole lot of money or a lot of experience yet, and how to not be afraid to travel as a young woman, and like tips and tricks for how to do it in a financially responsible type way. And then if you wanted to level up and do UGC, she kind of talks a little bit about that as well. But a lot of her content does talk about self-image and body issues and how to not hold on to a lot of that judgment and continue to just really be your best self. And if I had been that aware when I was in my 20s, I probably would have saved myself a whole lot of heartache, especially the part about hating who you are and not having as much confidence to like go do the fun thing or try the thing because you were so worried about how it would make you look, or if somebody was watching you or looking at your body or whatever, that you were too stuck in your own head to enjoy the moment. And I like that her content helps you figure out how to actually enjoy the moment better. So I put her on there, and I couldn't fit it on here. But when I started the YouTube page before I left for Antarctica, I made sure that YouTube, whatever their version, I think it's YouTube Music, was synced up to the podcast. So you could listen to the podcast on YouTube as well. Right now it's only the audios. But because I had tagged her in the episode where I talked about her and her friend Shay, Hannah actually responded. And so she's one of the first people where I've ever talked about them and tagged them in my show, where she commented back on the episode and was like super sweet and nice and was like, I really loved your perspective on this. This is so great. I do UGC full time. Shay only does it part time, but we're happy to help if anyone ever needs it. And so I printed that out with her comment on it, and I couldn't figure out a place to put it on here, but I kept it, and I'm treating it kind of like when a business opens and they make their first dollar. I've printed it out and I'm going to keep it because I want to use that almost as like my first dollar, where somebody that I admire found my information and wrote a review or wrote a response back on it that was positive. I made my first dollar in 2024, my metaphorical first dollar. And so that reminded me that like what I'm doing has a purpose and it will reach the right audience. It's just going to take time. And then last but not least, I have food photos just like my mom. Mine's mostly about my own diet and body. And there's a lot of listen to your gut kind of stuff in here. My health, I think I have a pretty healthy lifestyle and a pretty healthy diet. I learned that from my parents. I was very lucky that they all cooked with the rainbow and taught my brother and I to eat everything and to try everything and to learn to cook for ourselves. But one of the magazines that I bought for us to use for the vision board was an anti-inflammatory diet one, a Mediterranean diet one, and then one that was about, I think, Psychology Today, where they had a massive article all about your gut pre and probiotics and postbiotics that are in your body and how those interact and affect your mental health and interact with your brain and tell your brain how your body is doing or responding, which is sometimes when you have that quote unquote gut feeling or an intuition in your core and you can actually feel it where your stomach would be or where your intestines are, it's because your bacteria in your body are speaking to the rest of your system. And so there's a quote on here that says, always trust your gut. It knows what your head hasn't figured out yet. And it's very true. The brain is receiving all sorts of information all the time. And sometimes when you're having difficulty connecting to your intuition, it is possible that your diet and your general gut health could be diminished. And one of the ways to boost your connection to your body and to your brain and gut health would be to make sure that gut flora is maintained in the right way. We've talked about manifesting. We've talked about intuition before, especially with Ash Sabolka in a previous episode, and I can link that as well. But it's incredibly important, and I've always thought that I had the gift of discernment, whether it was a rudimentary skill. I've had it, and I know that I have it because there have been moments in my life where I've just started to think through certain things, or I've had ideas for the podcast that have come to me out of nowhere. And there's obviously also that episode I did about my weird dream sequences where I feel like the other side of the universe is talking to me through all kinds of things. And I explained that on that episode, but like, I know that it's there and I need to learn, I need to keep cultivating that. And one of the best ways to do that could be kill two birds with one stone, be focused on the fitness, be focused on the healthier diet, which will help promote the gut, which will help promote my intuition, which I'm hoping by listening to the intuition, it'll help promote the podcast. And so everything that's on this board all feeds back into the person that I want to become, the person that is running something legendary, the person that is got a top 100 podcast, that does have a personal studio, that does get up in the morning, like Mel Robbins says, that does get to travel to Italy whenever she freaking wants, that wears a nice Celine bag. Like, she cares about her gut health. She cares about traveling, being with her family. She cares about interviewing people that are making strides in the health and wellness and self-help community. She's learning to reframe rejection as redirection. She's cutting her baggage. She's focusing on being happy. She's editing her life frequently and ruthlessly as she builds her masterpiece. All these kinds of things. She's learning not to hate herself. She's
don't do like I did and take decades to appreciate where you are right now.
Yeah.
So I know that a vision board is about striving to do more and be better, and that's something, none of us are going to achieve enlightenment, nirvana, but don't, just like I've spent decades, and many women have, disliking our bodies, not thin enough, not whatever enough. I finally in my life, I can stop that tape in my head that's like, oh, this house isn't enough. I'm not what I'm supposed to be. Maybe it's just age, but I'm at that. I don't give two flips anymore. I am enough and successful, and in many, many, many ways, very successful. And I hope you know that about you too. So that while you're going, I'm going to become this, I'm doing this. I am this. It's like saying I'm not trying to be a writer. If you're practicing and you're writing every day, you're a writer. You're a podcaster. So anyway, I know that you know this. I just want to reinforce the idea that oftentimes we, by thinking of the future self, that we're not in the present going, but I'm doing this right now. I'm doing well.
I am actually doing it. Yeah. I'm not still talking about it anymore. Like I used 2 years ago, where I had ideas of like shows that I could do, or ideas for concepts.
You've got great ideas, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I love your center.
Yes. The centerpiece says, it's a very large red sign, and it says something legendary is coming. And that was cut from a magazine that I received in September 2024 after the Oner Active birthday party. And I cut that out because I loved it, and I felt like it hits what I want to say to myself, that yes, I am doing the real thing. I may not be what I believe to be necessarily successful yet.
You're not in the pros yet, but you're getting
right. But
you're working.
But something legendary is coming. Like my life is going to unfold in ways that I probably never would have ever imagined in 2025. Like I actually woke up I was explaining that to you and Haley the other day. I woke up on my actual birthday day in like a really high vibration, like just a really good mood. For whatever reason, my body was telling me like 2025 is your year. You're going to kill it. It's going to be great. Like you don't actually have to have all these major plans in place, but like 2025 is going to be a good year. We just know it. And then I'm sure some of that was partially because I bought myself something nice the day before. So I was already in a good mood, but
you bought an adventure.
Right. I bought an experience.
Yes. So not a thing, but
an experience. Yeah. I purchased an experience for myself. So, and I was in that vibe. You hear people talk about that, like you need to operate at a higher vibration, or if you're trying to meditate, people have designed music at a certain, is it Hertz, HZ, to play at a certain level. And so changing the Hertz level actually changes the like layer of your brain that it activates, or your attention that your concentration that it's able to activate. So certain Hertz is for certain types of meditations you need to have, certain Hertz or sounds to help you go to sleep, whatever. But for whatever reason, when I woke up on my birthday that day, whatever sound I heard, that was the sound that made me feel like it's going to be good. But yeah, so that is my poster. That is what I'm going to put up in my room and look at every single day and read and remind myself and reinforce these neural pathways, man.
It's going to be a great year.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Are you done? You done talking to me? You want to go home now? Yeah.
It's
3:00. Yeah. All right.
I'm having a good time. We can sit here. Yeah. But if I don't get going soon,
I know Daddy's going to think
I'll be here
stole you away.
I know. Tomorrow.
I know. Just to close out, since we didn't close this out on the last episode, this is what we're going to manifest and what we're pushing forward for 2025. But one of the things I do always ask my guests when they come on the show is, what would be advice that you would give yourself 10 years ago? And then what advice would you give someone who is struggling with a pivotal moment in their life and they are feeling lost and they're in the middle of a what now freak out? What advice would you give to that person who's feeling that way and how to find their purpose?
Okay. I'm thinking back to where we were 10 years ago, and I was in a really good place. Like, you guys were all at college and finishing up, and it was just, Dad and I were
empty nesters and
learning about that. So my advice 10 years ago probably would be, make a plan. Is this where you want to be? Because we wound up thinking we were perfectly happy in Nashville, and Nashville changed a lot, But I think that my advice to myself would be, get a better grip on your finances and where you want to retire. I think that we were so much into the empty nester space that I didn't plan far ahead. But again, as we've spoken about before, planning ahead has never been my forte. So my advice to myself would be, truly stop and think and envision where you want to go. For people in transition, I have had some pretty challenging times in my life. And every time I knew in my gut what I needed to do, I knew that I needed to stop, I needed to quit, I needed to pivot, whatever it is. And the only thing holding me back was the fear of, what if I don't succeed? I often would wait until I truly hit rock bottom in a certain place before I would pivot. And if you feel like you're getting close, you may wind up with less money, but you'll wind up with more happiness. And I think that you've got to just trust yourself and make the leap. So it's not really great advice. What should I say? It's not unique.
That doesn't matter
by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, write down the pros and cons. No, I think
if you're an overthinker, a pros cons list might not work.
But it's when you get back to listen to your gut. I just cannot think of a single instance, and there have been some really tight places in my life where I've known what I needed to do.
Right. So
just have to trust your gut and do it and jump forward. If you haven't, don't expect the cavalry to come save you.
Right. You got to take responsibility for your own life.
Be faithful that you are strong enough and you will figure it out. And that all those cliches of another opportunity is waiting for you on the other side. Or they're not a cliche they're a cliche for a reason.
Yeah. God closes a door but opens a window or something like that. Yeah.
You could leap out.
So you can jump to your death.
You could do the Putin cancer, man. Fall out that window.
Yeah. All right. Say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening to our 3-hour.
We'll split it apart. Similar to what we did with Max's episode. The first part will be the interview and the second part will be all the manifesting. So if you enjoyed the manifesting episode that we are doing together right now, go back to the previous week and you'll be able to listen to the interview that I did with my mom, and you'll learn more about her and her career and all of her what now moments that have informed her life as a computer engineer, as a programmer, and as a wife, as a mother, and how she uses that to, maintain her own sanity or not, how she builds her relationships and what she values. So thank you for coming on. I love you.
I love you too, honey. You're the best.
I'm honored that you would want to do this. It's not an easy thing to be public with how you feel and who you are. So I appreciate you sharing your stories and sharing your life and your advice and your lessons and your dreams. That's very, very appreciative.
Well, dreams are basically family, health, and home.
Yeah. And those are...
Take care of those things. The rest falls into place. I love you, darling.
I love you too. All right, everybody, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with your friends, share the show with your friends, tag us in your social media. I will do my best to always respond to everyone's messages. I see you when you tag us, and it makes me so appreciative and so proud to know that the show is helping you and benefiting your life in a positive way. So please feel free to reach out to me at any time. You can DM me directly, amanda.k.powers, and Podcast for the Lost on Instagram. If TikTok exists still, no idea by the time this episode airs, but also Podcast for Lost on TikTok, Podcast for Lost on YouTube. Find us there and feel free to let me know what you think of the show. Happy to chat all about it. If anybody needs help with anything, I'll be there, and let me know other topics or other guests you think would be great to come on, and I'll be happy to pitch them and do my best to bring you more exciting stuff. We've got a lot coming up with new guests, hopefully later on in March. So new stuff in the spring. February is going to be another month where we are hustling and building. So I appreciate you staying by me while I do that and supporting my dream of bringing this brand and bringing this show to life. Love you, mean it more than you'll ever know. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.